finally out. There's no rain, and we're gonna paint some nice landscapes. Thought it was gonna be super great, but there's a very nice glow down there in the horizon where the sun is peeking through. So I'm just gonna get started right away because the light is gonna be moving pretty fast because there's so many clouds around and there's not much sun left, or I mean, the sun is already setting, so it's not gonna be a lot of time before I have no light, or the color that I saw there is gonna change. Since I'm just gonna be focusing on the sky, there's not much sketching I need to do since it's gonna be just a silhouette of the trees and the houses. One thing that I noticed that I really enjoyed was painting with a really big brush, like I did in the other episode where I was talking about how you paint loosely. And painting with a big brush is such a big advantage to cover much broader area. Well, I mean, a much bigger area faster, and not really letting yourself be very careful and starting to put any details. So that's what I started to do. I knew I needed to put down the color for the sunset, like that nice yellow line, but I knew that the color was going to change, and it was already changing actually, so I decided to go a little bit more pink, red, um, and a little bit of orange as well, and later on. And as you can see, I'm not like fuzzing about exactly how it looked. I just was trying to get the impression of the landscape itself, the things that interested me. And I mean, there's so much color variation in these clouds that it's really hard for me to. If I slow down and try to emulate what I see, it's gonna be too late and I'm gonna run out of time. And well, my paper is just gonna be completely white because there's not gonna be time for me to slow down. So it's good to paint with a bigger brush because you just, as you see, like in two, three, four brush strokes, most of the paper is covered. I mean, at least in this small notebook that I'm using right now, um, it just works very nicely. The only problem I had with painting with such a big brush is that since I was so enthusiastic about it, I forgot that it just holds so much water. And so the paper was very, very wet. And since it was still cold outside, the the paper wasn't drying as fast as you would want it to dry. So that was a bit of a drawback, but I mean, I just went with it. I thought to myself, okay, I'm just gonna have to mix thicker paint and be more deliberate with where I'm putting it, trying not to overwork the areas, trying to just go over the areas once. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't need to be perfect. I just need to get the impression of the colors and the light that I'm seeing. And I mean, I also was very deliberate on putting a lot more color in the lower section where the light is piercing through, because that is the center of interest. And so I was like thinking that this needs to have the biggest contrast. It might not look like it at the moment, but soon enough it's just gonna all come together. And as you can see, I'm switching the brush to a smaller one. This brush still holds quite a bit of paint, but I mean, not paint. I mean, yeah, it holds paint, but it also holds quite a bit of water. So I had to be careful, and I'm trying to smash my brush into this lavender, which was not pre-wet, and so I'm struggling a bit to get a lot of paint out of it. And you can see that I'm kind of like hesitating. I'm like thinking, no, it's not enough, so I need more. And so I try again, but I can tell that it's just not enough. I mean, I wish that it was enough, but it isn't. So I mean, I was just having kind of a hard time trying to get that paint out. Where at the end, I think I just gave up on it and looked for a solution with using blue. But when I just started mixing the blue, then I was like, oh my god, it just feels like it's too much. And yeah, here it goes. Like, because I just freshly squeezed the blue, so I was like, okay, I know I can get the blue or the color intensity and thickness with the blue, but I just need to also get a little bit more lavender in there. So to pull, push back the blue, it was like, okay, lavender is not coming out, so I'm just gonna have to use more red, more yellow, just to create the same grayish tone as the lavender would. I mean, lavender and blue won't make such a big gray, but it's gonna be a thicker gray that is a bit cooler. Now this is looking quite dark, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I overdid this. Maybe it's not the right color. And as soon as I put it down, I was like, maybe it actually can work. The problem with using this brush was that it's just too small, and I wanted to have bigger, broader brush strokes. And I feel like the traditional brushes like this one, like a round brush, not like the calligraphy brush that I had, they're nice, but I feel that calligraphy brushes, you can get a lot more organic shapes and much more interesting shapes. I don't think I felt this way before when I was using a watercolor paper uh, notebook. I mean, this one is not for watercolor. It's basically like hot press, but I think that even hot press has more of a tooth. So maybe that's why uh, I'm feeling like I can't do as much with these brushes. But who knows? I finally was able to get some of the lavender out, and I'm just adding some of it here and there just because I could see a lot of that color in there. The lavender is such a great color, and I just bought a new tube of paint from Holbein because I've heard that it's a very nice color. All my colors are mainly from Daniel Smith, and that's because I love the granulation on Daniel Smith colors. And if you have any suggestions for me, just leave it in the comments below and I might check them out. And by mine, I mean, I'll definitely check them out. It's just I'm very loyal to the brand because I've loved them since the beginning. But yeah, I mean, you can maybe see that the mixture of the gray that I just made is actually granulating or separating. Well, now you can't see it, but yeah, that if you go back and try to look it in a big screen, if you're not in a big screen, you will see that the pigments were already separating, and that is the thing that I love about Daniel Smith paint. And I'm in no way sponsored by them. I just really love that granulation, and I'm pretty sure that there's other brands that have that same characteristics. It's just that I'm already familiar with the colors. I already know which colors I like from them. So it's a bit of a scary jump to try to look for another brand. I know some of you have recommended, what was it, Rosa and Sennelier, because of their rewettability. And I re-looked into buying them, but again, I was like just so scared to buying the wrong color or that I wasn't gonna be satisfied. And for me, watercolors like just last for a really long time. So I'm sorry. I just figured out a way to make Daniel Smith work for me, and that was, well, just wetting the paints way before I start painting, and then also closing my palette when I'm done, and that just keeps them alive, and it's just easier to use more of it and then in the next go. And now I am just adding a little bit of, not really definition of the rooftops, but like just some indication that these are rooftops, this silhouette. And as well, I'm adding some color to the grass, because there was some grass there in the shadow shape, so I needed to add that. And I was kind of proud because I kept it super simple. The trees could have been better, but as I said, the paper wasn't having enough time to dry, so I knew they were not gonna have like sharp edges, and that's a bit of a bummer, but it is what it is. I'm still satisfied with today's painting, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Thanks for watching, and see you tomorrow.